Let's unmute. That'd be helpful. All right, welcome back. In the last stream, we kind of went through and tried to figure out how to set up a modern front-end stack with a Ruby on Rails 8 application by installing Inertia, Vite, Tailwind, and then shadcn. And it was like a 3-hour stream. So it took a really long time. There were some things that were not clear. There's no direct documentation for shadcn related to Rails. And so I had to kind of go through a couple of different things, and there was a different upgrade guide for Tailwind 4 and whatnot, but we had it figured out. And even more so after that, I ended up, let me adjust this audio real quick. I ended up going back through and recreating it, and it took about 10 or 15 minutes. And so it was pretty quick to do it, but it's also tedious. And one of the reasons for doing this is all of the new Laravel starter kits that have shadcn and React and Inertia built in, and just the experience out of the box from Project New is really, really nice, where you can just jump straight in and focus on the thing you're trying to build, and not all the setup, not what do I need to configure in the application for mail, what do I need to configure for my authentication, what I need to build a dashboard, I need to have a place to put these things. That's a whole lot of work that you tend to wait to do until later, and you usually don't do that good of a job on it anyways. And so it gives you a nice solid base. You get to pull from shadcn components. It's really nice. So what I want to do is I want to make that really easy so that I can create more projects. I think right now the effort to generate a new Laravel app versus the effort to generate a new Rails app and like actually get going with something you can ship to production, Laravel is miles ahead. Like, you can spin up an app really quickly. It looks really nice and polished. You can deploy it. You have an authenticated admin area already. And it's not like these Rails gems that come in and try to take over the entire generation of your admin and just generate everything for you, which I don't think most people should use. You should have control over that experience as well, unless you're the only one using the admin. If it's just for you and you don't have customers using their own admin or administering their own data in some way, then maybe that's fine. But if you have customers and you're building experience for end users, then I think you should have control over that. And it gives you some really, really nice defaults out of the box. So in this stream, we're going to go through essentially what we tried to cover in the last stream that was like 3 hours, which we got through it at the end, but it took a long time. We're just going to take that whole process, condense it down, and then bundle it up into a Rails engine that you could use in a new application or in an existing application to basically load this stack in there to get Inertia, Vite, Tailwind, and shadcn and React all ready to go in your Rails application, so you can build really modern Rails 8 applications and use Ruby on Rails where it shines on the back end with all the web stuff and all the things that are in the framework that has matured over the last 20 years, and use all the best things about JavaScript, TypeScript specifically, and React on the front end, and build really, really good user experiences. So we're going to take that, we're going to condense it down in this first video and just put that together so you can get that installed in a new application or into an existing application. And then we're going to keep iterating on this in the next couple of parts. We'll probably do 2 more streams around this, where the goal will be in the next one, we'll install, we might get to it today. We'll see how this one goes, but we're going to get a bunch of defaults, RSpec, get our testing framework and stuff set up so that when we create a new app, we get a lot of really good defaults and we can just go in and start building our app. We don't need to say, okay, well, let me configure testing. If you prefer to use mini tests, and this is probably not for you, maybe we'll make that configurable at some point. We'll see how we do that. But the goal is to use some defaults that I've used in production over the last decade, more than a decade of being a professional Ruby on Rails developer, working on very large applications, and everything in between, and applications that have gone through, 8 or 9 years of learning curve. And so large production code bases in Rails. Yeah, so let's get started. So first up, we need to do a couple of things. So I'm going to go to RubyGems. And I am signed in. Okay. So let's see. Do they have a guide here? Okay, so we're gonna generate our gem, and then we're gonna need to like push this up. All right, so let's look at this. So to create we're going to create this as an engine because we want you to be able to install it into an existing application as well as a new application. Excuse me. So we'll have to think about the different flags and stuff that we want to pass through, depending on how you use this. If you use it with a brand new application, I'm not sure how that's going to work with mini tests, but so one of the things that I'm trying to copy from is Suspenders by Thoughtbot, which is a Rails engine that basically just has generators in it for configuring your Rails application with a bunch of really good defaults. We're gonna just shamelessly steal a bunch of the defaults from here because I think there's some really good defaults, and so you can do it. Let's see. Interesting. So it looks like they have an install file here. This install file is going to run the generator commands. Okay. Okay, so we might need this install file once we figure out how to, because we want to be able to generate a new application with just our defaults in it, right? We're going to set it up with all the things eventually, right? Right now, we're just going to get this initial stack set up and our basic and our default landing page and our default dashboard. Essentially, I'm trying to recreate what we have or what they have in the Laravel React starter kit, but for Rails, right? We're going to essentially try to create almost the same thing. Keep it pretty similar. And then from there, the goal will be to install and configure devise, theme all the views for it using shadcn. And so that all looks good out of the box. We'll already have the dashboard. We'll have a default landing page. And we're not going to be too prescriptive beyond that. Everything else is just going to be set up for what you would need to build a production level Rails application, right? So we're going to have devise for authentication, pundit for authorization. We're going to have RSpec, Capybara, FactoryBot Rails. We're going to install Brakeman for auditing gems and for security updates and vulnerabilities. We're going to install Flipper for, maybe we'll look and see if there's any other libraries. I've used Flipper for a very long time and it works fine. But I'm not sure if there's anything newer or anything else out. But if not, we'll use Flipper for feature flags. So now you can feature flag code and things. I'm sure there's a handful of other things in the Thoughtbot Suspenders repo that we're gonna borrow as well. And this is kind of how I want to be able to create projects and be able to spin them up and go straight into like building a feature. And like from the time I spin it up, I should be able to deploy it to a production environment, whether it's using Kamal 2 and Docker, or whether it's using Heroku or some other PaaS service. I want to be able to create the project and deploy it, right? I think the combination of Laravel 12, the Laravel starter kits, and Laravel Cloud is a pretty amazing combination right there, right? Like you can spin up a new application, deploy it to a cloud, and have first-class support for the whole application. It's specifically built. I mean, the cloud, Laravel Cloud is built with Laravel, right? It is obviously there are a lot of distributed services underneath it, and it's not like everything is not PHP in Laravel, I would assume, but most of the things that you're interacting with are, and the experience is pretty seamless. It's pretty awesome. And Heroku does a really good job at this. But you know, we'll save our thoughts about Heroku for another video. All right, so I think we might need this, but to get started, we're just gonna go ahead and create a new engine. And so the way that you do that with Rails is you're gonna do Rails plugin new. So it's gonna be a plugin. We're gonna call this Rails starter kit. And we're gonna say that it's mountable. And then we're gonna skip test. because when we add tests to this later, which we're not going to do right now, we're going to use RSpec anyways. So we'll skip those. Let's go ahead and create that. That's going to create our new engine. Let's cd into that directory. Okay. We'll go ahead and commit everything. Now we can track our changes along the way. And let me go ahead and create a new repo for this real quick. Ruby on Rails starter kit with Inertia, Vite, React, Tailwind, and shadcn. We're going to open this up. We're going to make this public. Eventually, I'm going to make it private right now. Actually, you know what? Let's just make it public. That should be fine. Okay. All right. So now we are live on the GitHub. Okay. So nothing in there yet, but it's over at github.com/carlweiss/rails-starter-kit is where you'll be able to find it on there. And obviously there's nothing in it yet, right? So, all right, so we have the initial kit. So one thing I want to see is, I've only published a couple of gems. But I want to push this up, so we'll just say with a few extras with Inertia, React, or Vite, React, and more, yeah. We'll just leave that for now. Oops. Oh my God, it's a new keyboard. Okay. Change log, huh? You don't have a change log? We do not have a change log. Okay. Well. What's today? Either way, let's see. Oh, did I not set that either? Okay, so let's go to this one. All right, so what we need to do here is just grab that, paste that there. This is just change log. Okay. And this is Rails 8. Okay. We'll go and push that up. And we're going to go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. We'll address that later. Let's see. Secret. So we have here. What the hell am I? What is that? Okay, so we're just gonna do it again. I need to remember what my password is. Oh, you know what? You know what? Did I save it? I did save it. Okay. Okay. What? Okay. Yes. Okay. Now we should be good. So now we go to RubyGems. I'll keep slowing that. The right gem to get is Heroicon Rails. That's one that I made here. It's a solid wrapper around Heroicon. So yeah, check it out. And now we have Rails Starter Kit. It doesn't do anything, but I wanted to make sure to claim that gem name, so we've got that. This is an old one. I don't recommend using this one. Anyone actually still using this? Highly unlikely. I'll leave it up there for... but yeah, so we've got our Rails Starter Kit here. We're going to link to our GitHub. Cool. So we've got that configured. All right. So let's take a look at our, let's remove this because we don't need this, this compiled gem. So yeah, we'll move that. All right. So now that we're clean here, let's take a look at our directory structure. So under app, we're going to have kind of the similar Rails structure, controllers, views, models, everything there. We're going to have routes, right? Here's where we can add routes that are going to be pulled in. We're going to have our lib directory, and inside of there, we're going to have Rails starter kit, and then so it did that not how I would have expected it to, because it broke it all out. I wonder if it would have still done that with let's try this again. So what if I name this underscore? Just curious. Sorry, lib Rails starter kit engine version. So it looks like it should be underscore. Okay, so let's do this. Let's grab our gem spec here. I want that. We're gonna move it over to this one. Okay. Oh, wait, let's not commit yet. Let's add change log. No? Okay. Okay, so let's create a new repository. we've got that one up. We're still signed in. Okay, we are. Too similar. Sure. Remove that. I did give you a version. Yeah, that's fine. Keep that, we'll keep that. Okay, so that goes to... Wait, does that link to the wrong repo? Oh yeah, because we just copied in the... That's fine, let's update that. Let's go to here, get rid of that. Jump back in here into the gem spec, and then interesting. So it won't let me re-push. All right, so we'll rebuild. Oh, I did not build. Gem push. There we go. Alright, 0.11. No functionality, but it's there. It links to the correct repo. I don't think I can delete the other one. Let's see here. I guess we can. Someone's already watching it. Interesting. All right. Well, you're gonna have to watch the other one. This one is no mas. Right. So it's Rails_starter_kit. We'll leave it at that. The website for this is going to be railsstarter.com, which is not up yet. Cool. Update the README there. Okay. So back to what we were trying to do, which was explore the directory structure now that we have the correct namespacing there and it's Rails starter kit. So it need to be underscore. Got it. Should have known that. Let's see. It says it also created, I don't see it creating a dummy application. That's pretty interesting. It shows that there's like a test dummy app. I'll have to look at that for the documentation, but let's go ahead and let's check out our engine. And there it is. All its glory. Rails starter kit, right? It's going to have a class engine. It's going to inherit from Rails engine, and it's going to isolate all of our code in this engine to the Rails starter kit namespace. So if it's underneath there, it's part of the starter kit, right? So isolates the code in that way. Great. That isolates the engine's controllers and routes and, again, any other code that's in the engine, which is what we want. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we need to create a generator file, right? We need a generator that we're going to use whenever we are whenever you install this gem, right? You need a generator to run for an install generator. So we're going to go into our lib directory. We're going to create a new folder, generators. And then underneath that, we're going to create Rails, another folder for our engine, Rails starter. Rails starter kit. And then install _ generator .rb. Okay, so lib. This should be generators. Let's rename that to lib generators Rails starter kit. Lib generators Rails starter kit install generator.rb. So we'll go ahead and open that file up. And let's see, check on my notes. We are going to, again, this is our installer, right? This is our installer for whenever you mount the engine or install the gem, you run the installer afterwards. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to require Rails/generators. That'll give us access to the built-in Rails generators. We're going to create a module here, Rails starter kit. And then we're going to have another module here, generators. And then we are going to have a class for our install generator. Look at Copilot trying to take over and just do its thing. We're not going to use any of that. Install generator. We are going to inherit from Rails generators base. So that's good. We do need, let's go and close our class. We need our source root. Yep, it's going to be our templates current directory. So we're going to expand that path. Okay, I have a description here. Installs Rails starter kit with modern front-end configuration, including let's see, what do you got, Copilot? Inertia.js, Vite, React, Tailwind, CSS, shadcn, and more. Okay. So a little description there for our installer. Formatting's off there. Okay, now I'm just going to copy these base config files. So I'll copy this in. We're going to have, initially we need to create our configuration files, right? And these are going to be all the config files necessary. And this is from going through that last exercise and then the following one of how to create a Rails 8 application and install all these things. So we need our Vite config, we need a Tailwind. Actually, we're not going to need, well, we're going to use Tailwind 4, and so I don't think we're going to need this Tailwind config. So we'll go ahead and skip that. If we need it, we can always add it. We're going to add our TypeScript config, both the app.json and the tsconfig.json, and then we're going to have a shadcn config.js. This might end up changing. I think in the last time that I did this, I ended up needing to have a components JSON file. Just check my notes here. Styles, Vite. Oh, you know what? I don't think I actually needed that configuration at all. Yeah, you know what? We're going to create the config file just to have it. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's check shadcn config file. Yeah, I think it's just a components JSON. Yeah, so I think we want that. So let's change this to components.json and Does this need to be a template? Why is it a template versus copy file? Let's see. Rails generator template. Got it. So we can output things if it's a template. So I think these will all be copy file, but we'll see. We'll see what we need for that. Interesting. Okay. Let's jump back to the next one. Let's change this though. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, yeah, so we're going to copy over our config files. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to add a method in here to install Inertia. All right, so this is going to just have our gem install for Inertia. And we're going to add that to the gem file. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That should be over there. Wait, why does this feel off? There we go. I'll just leave that for now. We're gonna continue creating space there for additional methods. Okay, so we install Inertia. Next thing we need to do is we need to run bundle install. Okay, great. Next thing we need to do is run Inertia install. And that'll walk you through installing and configuring React and everything. We'll need to fix all of this, which is fine. And then finally, we'll just display some instructions to the end user. And honestly, this should be like version 1 of this, right? Because like this will give us the basic install of things. Now it's going to try to copy these files. We haven't created those yet, which we'll need to in order to copy those over. But there are also some additional commands that we're going to need to run to install some other dependencies for this. It's not enough to just create these files, right? There are actual dependencies that need to get installed for shadcn. So let's go ahead and make a templates directory. All right, and that's where we're going to pull these files from. So we're going to come in here, lib generators rail starter kit, and in here we're going to add templates as a directory. Okay, the first template we're going to add to this is going to be our Vite config. This is going to be TypeScript. We'll go ahead and paste that in. And you'll see here, basically what we're doing is we're loading in our plugins for Vite. Actually, there is another plugin. We need our Vite. We need our Vite Ruby plugin. Looks like we skipped that one. Let's just double check this real quick because I'm pretty sure we need a Vite Ruby one. Let's just do Rails new Vite demo. We'll skip the test. We'll skip solid. Cool. This is kind of like the manual way that you would do it, right? We would come in here and we would create a new Rails app. I'll let this install real quick. Just want to verify one of these configs. And it's better to have kind of a working version of this that we can go off of. We can bounce back and forth to verify what we need to copy over. Okay, so let's cd into that Vite demo. And let's see, let's go to our gem file. Just gonna clean this up real quick. That way it's just easier to parse. We don't have all these comments. Sort everything. Okay, so first thing we want to install is Inertia. So Inertia Rails. Let's just install that. Let's do bundle install. That's going to go ahead and pull down the Inertia gem, install that. Now we're going to run Rails G Inertia install, and this is going to run the Inertia installer. This is the same one we're kicking off in our engine installer. So the first question it's going to ask us is if we want to install Vite Ruby. The answer is yes. This is the extra config I think we need. We're going to hit yes there. That should go ahead and generate the config. It's going to ask us a few other questions. Specifically, like, do we want to use TypeScript? Yes. Yes, we do. What framework? The default's React, so we're just going to leave that, and we're going to use React. Would you like to use Tailwind? Yes, we want to use Tailwind. We're going to let that install, do its thing. It's going to say there's a conflict there. Overwrite, we're going to say yes. So we'll need to make sure that we force overwrite for our engine. Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't want to force overwrite, although if you're doing it on an existing application, I can see that could break something potentially. All right, let's go back into our directory, so our project, and let's look at our Vite config. Looks like it's generating an MTS file. And the additional thing it's adding is this Ruby plugin. So this is what we need. So essentially, I think everything else is the same. We're adding Tailwind CSS in here. All right. What do we do in this one? Do we had Tailwind? No, we had Tailwind. All right, so what's the difference? Just the Ruby plugin and the path. All right, so we're going to add our Ruby plugin. We're going to make sure to include the Ruby plugin up here while we're running our plugins. And we don't need any of the rest of this. Okay, because we're going to hit yes to that installer, which I guess would actually create this already. But our key thing here is we want this. So we need to think about how that's going to work. But we'll see. Because we need our default path here, so that we can make sure that we're pointed to app JavaScript. That's where we want our components to be generated. Okay, so that's our first template file. The next one is going to be... Next one's going to be our... so we don't need that. It's going to be our tsconfig.json. So under templates, tsconfig.json. That one's going to be pretty straightforward. And again, we're going to update this to be app JavaScript, right? We want our generators for components and things to go to app JavaScript within our Rails app. The next one is going to be a tsconfig.app.json. I think it's basically the same. All right, we're just going to have our compiler options in here. Those are going to point to app JavaScript. Great. Okay. And then we have our components JSON. So let's look at our components JSON. Let's go ahead and add that. Wait, yep. In our templates, we're going to add components.json. And then for shadcn, let's see, Tailwind 4, tsconfig. So because we need to run type nodes to get that installed. We want this, so we're using Canary. We want to make sure we're using it with Tailwind 4. I thought there was a component. There it is. Components JSON. Right, and that'll give us kind of our config here. I think the main thing we wanted is like all the aliases. So if we do this in our example project, we run that. We're going to install shadcn. And we're also going to add, it should, this says no import alias found in your tsconfig JSON file. Okay. So this is a problem, I think, with how it gets installed out of the box where it doesn't work. Let's look at our tsconfig JSON. So there are no compiler options in here, which is the problem. So what this actually has to be, whoops, is not that, is this, right? So we add our paths here, and we want this to be app JavaScript. Okay, now let's run that again. There we go. Now we're going to get the shadcn installer. We're going to choose Zinc for our base. It's going to install its dependencies, update the Tailwind, generate an app, a JavaScript lib utils. That's another file that we're going to want to, well, I guess it's going to generate that for us, so that should be fine. But you'll notice that we get a components JSON now, and this is going to have all of our things in there, and it's going to have our aliases. So maybe we don't need to add this. Maybe this will just be generated. As long as we have the Vite config, the installer, this should get generated for us. Right? And we don't want to change these. We don't want to modify these aliases. So that should just work. Okay. So that's our tsconfig app. We don't need the shadcn. Let's make sure that this loads. So let's come back to our generator here. We're actually just going to remove this. We're going to delete that. We're going to leave those. We're going to come back to our install generator, get rid of components. We don't need that at all. I think this can just be a copy file. Let's see. We're going to install Inertia. Okay, down here, we need to we need to install shadcn. So we're going to do say Yep, installing shadcn. So we're going to do run. This is going to initialize, but let's look at this Tailwind 4 runner. So we want a couple of things, right? We want our dependencies here. So let's see, what if we go into like, I think the Laravel app actually will show the latest. No, that's going to take us back down there. So we have to do new. Upgrade guide. That's just a Tailwind upgrade guide. Okay. So we want to install dependencies. Okay, and then I don't remember if it's this one or not. Oh yeah, and there's our styles. Okay. Okay, so maybe it's not that one. Maybe it's React. Tailwind merge, Tailwind animate. All right, that might be duplicative, but that's okay for right now. Let's go back to our templates and let's add this. Call this application.css. We'll paste all this in. That's going to give us our Tailwind. We're going to have our plugin for Tailwind animate. We'll just leave that. We're having a variant for dark, which will be based on a class, right? So we can toggle this, adding the dark class to the HTML tag. And then we're going to define some default styles here for shadcn, right? And that's just going to give us a nice base to start with, so we'll need to make sure to copy those over using our generator here, and so let's install shadcn. So as part of that, we're going to copy file. Where's our copy file at? We're going to pull it out of the same. Let's see how this works. So, because it's application CSS, that's going to go to app JavaScript. Let's check here. So in our example app, we're going to go to app JavaScript, entry points, application CSS is where it's coming in. Okay, so let's just copy there. for now. Okay, so we're going to copy that file. And then we need to initialize to create our config file, right? I don't know about this new keyboard. Yep. So after we initialize, then we'll copy our file. I don't know if we can force that. We might be able to. Let's see what this gives us. Okay. So let's do this. It is, I don't know why we would create an embedded. It's saying there's like a test dummy directory in here, but there's not. So let's see. I'm gonna grab a coffee real quick. All right, that is ruined. It should be in a second. Okay. Yeah, why is there not? Did I? All right, so it's saying just like make an app in here, right? So we're gonna make their test. Make their -p test dummy. We're gonna see into our cd into our test dummy directory, and we're going to skip a ton of stuff in here because we're just trying to test the engine. We're not trying to build a Rails app for our dummy app. So we're going to Rails new in this current directory. We're going to skip active record, action mailer, action mailbox, action text, active storage, JavaScript, sprockets, test, system test, Spring, listen, turbo links, boot snap. We should probably add another one onto there. Interesting. So this must have changed. This must have changed. All right, so let's check the docs. Raw content. Components. get rid of that because that's annoying. And let's change this. All right, so getting started with engines. Okay. Inside an engine, hooking into an application, mounting the engine. So we generate. Okay, so I guess we just have to use a separate application. Got it. Okay, we just can't do it inside of here anymore. That's fine. That is okay. Just going to remove that. And that's good. Now, I'm going to create a new, so let's do this. Let's rename this. Rename window to Rails Starter Kit. Rename this window to Vite Demo, because that's what that is. And let's actually close this one down. We don't want that. Let's get rid of it. Let's come here, CDF1, and here we'll rename this tmux window to Rails Starter Kit Demo. And that's what we'll create the app as. Rails Starter Kit Rails New Starter Kit Demo. It says we can mount it, but I think this is where this installer script comes from. Right? I think that's what this is. Got it. And this is where it has a separate installer. So what's the web version of this? All right, so if I go back to suspenders, lib install web. That's where it lives. But it's not actually. All right, well, let's just go to demo. Again, we'll skip test. We'll skip solid. We'll do JavaScript as ES build, because you know that's what we're going to use. I'm not going to pass through the Tailwind flag. Actually, no, let's do it anyways. I know it's going to install it, because we want to have Tailwind available for our other views. There we go. So we'll just do that. And we'll create our demo app. We'll have to push this up to another repo, potentially, so we can show that. Okay, so it's cd into Rails starter kit. Oh, you know what? It created a starter kit demo. So let's try that again. And this time we'll make sure to call it Rails starter kit demo. And what's up? What's up? We are trying to get this, trying to test out our engine right now. The goal is to automate basically setting up a new Ruby on Rails application to use Inertia, React.js, Vite, Tailwind, and shadcn to get set up with a modern Rails application from the beginning, where we have default authenticated admin route. We'll have devise styled views using shadcn. Like, have a good starter kit that you can just start using to build apps with, right? There are some other starter kits on the market, and frankly, I don't agree with their pricing structure that, you know, having to pay every year to use a starter kit in your project, and for every project you use it in. I think maybe it's unlimited projects. You just have to maintain it every year, and if not, you just don't get updates. So technically you can purchase it one time, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. All right, so Rails starter kit demo, we'll cd into that directory. We're going to go ahead and open up our gem file. We'll do the same thing. We'll clean this up real quick. Again, it just makes it easier to parse. You know, we're going to have to I think we're going to have to redo this. Let's test it first. We're going to have to redo it with Postgres. Just because Postgres will be a requirement. We are not only building this to have a modern front-end stack, but like a modern production, battle-tested Ruby on Rails production level stack that you can use to build real applications and build your next big idea. And, you know, like they say, go from hello world to IPO. It is definitely possible. Okay, so now that we have that, what do we need to do? We need to mount our gem. Okay, so we're just gonna put ourselves right here. Gem Rails starter kit path. Is going to be Rails starter kit. We're going to run bundle install. Okay. Now we don't have any routes right now, but when we add routes, I don't want to mount routes from the engine. I want to generate those in your application. Okay, so we should be able to run our app, assuming we don't have another one running. Okay, so let's go ahead and navigate to localhost 3000. You're gonna get a Rails app. Okay, nothing special. We haven't done anything to it yet. Now we're gonna go ahead and kill our server, stop that server, and now we're gonna run our generator. So we're gonna do Rails G, Rails starter kit, :install. This should run our installer, but of course it's gonna break, which is fine. Undefined method join for an instance of string. So we're trying to do something. So let's jump back over here. All right, so we just need to modify our method for adding the inertia gem. So let's go ahead and change that, how we do that a little bit. It's just because it's not a path. It's just a string. So one of the nice things is, though, because we're doing the local development, we can just make this change. We can come back in here. We're going to run bundle. And then we can run our generator again. You'll notice that we created the files. We added the inertia gem, and now we're straight into the installer for inertia. Do we want to install Vite Ruby? Yes. And it's going to run through the same installer that we did before. Do we want to use TypeScript? Yes. We're going to see if we can automate this and just make these the default so we don't have to click through these. Do we want to install Tailwind? Yes. And then it's going to show that we already have the TS config. Do we want to override it? Yes. 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 Now we're going to install shadcn. And it's going to ask if we want to use the canary package. We're going to say yes. Again, it's going to ask us if we want to overwrite the CSS file. To copy it in the entry points, we're again going to say yes, we want to override. Okay, now it's saying that the starter kit's been installed. We can now start using it. So let's do this. Let's open a new tmux window, run bin dev, fire that back up. Now we're going to come back over here and take a look at what we have. So notice that we have inertia Rails installed, and now it's just complaining because we're using single quotes, so we can fix that. We can take it and bring it up here where we would actually put it. That's fine. Now if we back out of here, you're going to see that we have our tsconfig app.json, right? Which it has our app.javascript directory there. We're going to have our tsconfig.json. Looks like this did not copy the right. Interesting. So we probably want to copy these over after the installer. Vite config is including the plugin Ruby. So this one looks good, and it has app JavaScript. Okay. It added these twice. Port React from. Okay, we don't need that twice. And we don't need that twice. Okay, so I'll have to look at that. Let's just leave those in there. I think it's just going to be an order of operations thing. Let's go ahead and check out our routes. You're going to see that we get this inertia example. And so if we come back, we'll reload, come over to the browser, and we'll go / inertia example. And okay, so let's see here. So there's something that it didn't like about our generated code. So let's look at app, JavaScript, pages, inertia example.tsx. And there's something in here. So what is it saying? In web worker has already been defined. It's got to be in something else that it's compiling. Let's see, entry points, application CSS. So it did copy over all of our application CSS, and we got our shadcn styles. That's great. That looks good. Inertia, it's got to be this, right? Resolver for pages is there. That looks fine. Is that our import? Let's try to rerun that. Import refresh runtime. Oh, I wonder, is it because of the double install? I wonder if it is. Let's do npm install. Like it's not installing anything in here. It's not gonna be there. It's gonna be, it's gotta be one of our config files. What is this tsconfig node? VJS plugin React, VJS plugin React, plugin Ruby, app JavaScript. That all looks fine, right? I'm not seeing anything. I don't know if it's actually in the inertia. In our example TSX, right? This doesn't do a whole lot. We could come in here and get rid of all of that. Doesn't do anything. Right, so I don't think it's happening in here. Let's see what the AI thinks. It's not added, that's the thing. Okay, so it says Vite because we had to plug in twice. That's all it was, so we must have missed that in the starter kit. So let's check our templates. So Vite. Ooh, so the plugin's getting added whenever we run the installer for Vite. Right, so what if we remove this? What if we remove that? This is getting added. This is getting added. Do we even need that? I don't know. It's those two things that doubled up, right? I'm pretty sure it's just those two things that doubled up. Okay, so let's quit this. Let's get rid of that. Let's run the installer, create a new Rails app, and we'll go ahead and load up our gem and test again. One thing I do want to change here in our install generator, I think these things need to happen later, where we copy the config files, because these have the config that we want, like the end config. I think we install, then we copy our config files down here. And then the other thing is when we add our gem, we're gonna add our gem declaration as double quotes. And oops. Oh my god, this keyboard is literally driving me nuts. Oh my god. That's because it's like all in the wrong place. Come on. There we go. Okay. Let's cd into Rails starter kit demo. Let's go to our gem file. We're not going to worry about cleaning this up. We're just going to come straight down here and we're going to say gem Rails starter kit path is going to be that. Let's run bundle install. We'll go ahead and install it. Now we're going to do Rails G starter kit install. Or Rails G Rails starter kit install. Of course, my string escaping was wrong. Let's do this. Oh, is it just adding a new line? Okay, let's bundle. Unterminated string. Should be fine, right? Just all the escaping. that we end up needing to do. Okay, let's come back over, bundle again, parse error, unterminated string. What are you talking about? Path, rail starter kit, that looks good to me. Gem, inertia, rails. We save that though. Bundle, update, dash source, rail starter kit. Cannot continue, error parsing the gem file. Really? Okay, what if we just go back to this? That's the only thing we changed. Alright, let's run bundle again. So I guess we just had to remove it and bring it back. We'll clean up that later. Okay, so now we should have our gem. It should have been added. Did it get added? Oh, we have to run our installer. So Rails G, Rails starter kit, install. Let's see if moving, I think moving around the config files and stuff would have helped. So yes, we want, and again, we need to make these defaults, but yes, we want Vite Ruby. Yes, we want TypeScript, and yes, we want React, which is the default. You can also choose Vue or Svelte. And yes, we want Tailwind CSS. Okay, so it looks like it's going to create an MTS file. Maybe we should name ours MTS. I'm just going to update bin dev. We want to override that. That's fine. Now we're going to install shadcn. And we're going to override our style sheet. And we're going to override our TS config, our app config. And now we should be good. And now we're going to come here and we're going to go ahead and close this down. We need a CD back out and then CD into Rails starter kit demo. We'll do the same here. We'll start the Rails server there and we'll start Vite up here. Okay. Now we're gonna come back, reload. We should still be able to hit this Inertia example page. And looks like we are getting an error. Interesting. So was it the overwrite of our config files? What was it? So tsconfig app.json, that looks fine. tsconfig.json, that looks fine. Okay, so we have this Vite config, which is ours, and then we have the MTS, which installs the other things. So ours, MTS. So we need this. Back here. And this MTS. So we got all three of these. I don't need the rest of that. Okay. App, JavaScript, entry points. We have all of our CSS. Great. Basic. Okay. Our inertia set up with our pages path. That looks great. Our pages, inertia example. That's all there. That looks good. I'm not sure why we're not building. Did something not get, and so React is not defined. How is React not defined? All right, we've got React 19, React DOM, we've got Tailwind 4. Everything's there. I don't know why it does that. Like, you start it once and then you can never run it again. Bin dev port 8000. Interesting. So did moving our config break it? Moving our config had to break it. There's no reason why. Let's go to our install generator. Let's put these back up here. I'm going to leave that as TS. I think it's going to use the MTS. In which case, if it's generating this, we might not need this. We do need to add our paths. So what we'll need to do is like modify that existing file more than likely. So let's just move that back up there. Everything else should be the same. Let's see. We want to force copying over our CSS. We shouldn't have to do anything for that. I don't know if we want that to abort on failure. That should be fine. I think it'll auto abort. All right, let's try this again. Let's go to our gem file and we'll just yank that. And then we'll cd out rm-rf rails starter kit demo. We'll create a new Rails app. If you stop by and check out the stream and are enjoying it, please give the video a like, make sure to subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you'd like to see on the next stream. If it's, assuming it's not part 2 of this. This one's going on a little bit longer than expected, which is usually how these things go. Let's see, it's cd into Rails starter kit demo. Let's open up our gem file. Let's go ahead and add our gem. We're going to run bundle to install it. We're going to run our installer. And it's going to fail because we don't have a TS anymore. Let's just copy that out. I'm wondering if I guess we do need we're going to try this. Again, anytime you make changes, you need to run bundle again so you can pull in that change. Now we'll run our installer and let's see how it goes. Yes, we want to install Vite Ruby. Yes, we want to use TypeScript. Yes, we want React. And yes, we want Tailwind. So I'm going to choose append. No import alias found in your tsconfig JSON file. And we forced the application CSS, so we didn't have to answer that one. Okay, so no tsconfig JSON. So it didn't get our correct config there. That one's fine. MTS config. That didn't work either. Right, because we don't have our path definition. We are loading all three plugins, but we don't have our path definition and we don't have our other config. We need our resolve alias. So it does still feel like these are the ones that we want as the final path. So we'll let it do its thing and add whatever, and then we should create ours and overwrite. Whoops. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna get used to this keyboard at some point. I think we just force them. All right, so let's do this. Let's see what happens if, oops. Rails G, Rails starter kit install. Just run it again. Yes, we want to use that. Yes, we want React. Yes, we want Tailwind. We're going to overwrite application CSS. Yep. And we forced all of our other config. tsconfig.json. It's there. I don't know if it's complaining about the other one, but like it's there. tsconfig MTS. Now we have path, all of our plugins. We have our resolve alias. Okay. Look at app JavaScript. Entry points. We're going to see application CSS. We have Tailwind. We have our shadcn default styles. Inertia is created with our page directory mapping. Okay. Pages. We have our example. Okay. Let's do Rails server. Yeah, we got to back out, come back in, cd Rails starter kit demo, Rails server, and then down below we'll run Vite dev. And let's bring this back to 3000. Hey, there we go. We got it. All right, so that is all working with shadcn, and it looks like we do have an issue here. Assets Tailwind CSS not found, so we'll want to fix that. And it doesn't look like we're getting the default styles, right? For oh wait, this is just a regular button, right? I think this is a regular button. So what we need to do, let's just test to make sure that we have our default styles. Let's grab a button here. And we'll just copy this installation, sorry. Let's come back to our starter kit and we'll do npx shadcn at latest add button. It says you need to create a components JSON file to add components. Huh. So our initializer did not create one. So we're going to say yes. We're going to choose our defaults and then we'll pull this into our installer. So I would like to go with Zinc as my base. Okay, and so it added our button component. So let's go look at that components JSON. Cool, and it's going to give us a default style of New York. I think we're going to change that and use default instead. And we may need to change this path to where our CSS is, because I think that might be the problem right there. But let's test this out. So we have our button, right? So let's go ahead and open up our Inertia example TSX. And for now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave that. We're gonna get rid of all these other logos. We don't really need those. And let's just change this button tag to a button component. This is gonna be a shadcn button component. We can leave that, that's fine. Let's come up here. We're not using any of these logos, so let's just get rid of those for now. And now we're gonna import button. Yeah, from components button. This is the resolver. The resolver should also resolve if we were doing components button, which is what the shadcn at components at UI button. Sorry, it's going to be this import call should also work, right? Because that alias for at is going to point to our app JavaScript components UI button.tsx. This is the shadcn button that we just pulled in. Okay, so let's come back to our app, reload, and now it's going to say that this doesn't exist. Failed to resolve import. So there's something with our resolver that isn't working. So that's the problem, because we should be able to use these the at, right? So let's take a look at this. So let's say components.json at, that's all fine, right? If we look at tsconfig.json, okay, tsconfig app.json, it's just the compiler options pointing there, that should be fine. The Vite config and the resolvers app JavaScript. So that should be resolving. Why is it doing that? Where? Ah, okay. So it's not actually complaining about this. It's complaining about this utils, right? Because there's supposed to be this utils file that gets generated. And it... Some components JSON. Where are we at? That's just the button. There it is. So libutils.ts is a helper that we need. So let's go here. So we're going to copy file utils.ts, and this is going to be app JavaScript lib utils.cs, and we'll come and create that in here. Utils.ts, not cs, ts. We'll paste that in there, and let's come back to our generator. ts. Okay, that looks good. We're gonna end up blowing away this whole thing and redoing it anyways, just to double verify, triple verify. But let's go ahead and just add the lib utils. Oh, it is there. It's right there. What are you talking about? What does this look like? Is that the problem? All right, so let's go into our Vite demo and let's get this working, and then we can copy over from there. Because I don't want to sit here and play whack-a-mole with this, trying to get it to work. We know that this one works. Well, we know that this one works, so we're going to go ahead and open it up. That one's good there. Now we don't have, do we have shadcn? I don't think we got that all set up in here. I think we just installed, let's see, we have our tsconfig app, that's fine, tsconfig.json, our resolver is there, Vite config is there, there's no path and there's no resolver on this one. Right, so I think we're gonna need that. I think we're gonna need this. Let's grab our resolve block here. And paste that in there. Okay, so let's just go through the docs of installing this, right? What do we want first? We want general installation. So we're gonna run this. Okay, we have our tsconfig. We need to add our default there. Enter points application. Just replace all of that. Okay, we have our styles. Lib app JavaScript. Lib utils.ts. It's already there. Components.json is already there. Wait, did it already do everything? Okay. Can we add a button? App JavaScript components UI button.tsx. Okay. Let's go to our inertia example.tsx. And come back here. We're still loading, right? We are going to import button from app components button. And that still loads. And now as soon as I add the button component, it fails to load. I add it. All right, so what's our Vite? Ah, we're missing the path import. So we can't find it. Okay. So restart Vite. And let's just verify our path. Ah, that's the problem. Should work. Okay, what are we missing in the config? So we have our path resolver. Let me check. Hold on, I've got another app where this is working. Give me a second. Well, let's verify these one at a time. tsconfig .json. Okay. Check out our reference here. Okay. Okay. Let's look at our Vite config. Okay, so we have path, React, Tailwind, define config, Ruby plugin, React Tailwind, Ruby plugin, resolve, alias, at, path.resolve, app JavaScript. Fix this. That's what that one should be. Utils is fine. tsconfig. Just a second. Okay. tsconfig JSON. Base URL paths. That looks fine. That looks fine. All right, we don't have anything special there. I mean, we did need to create our layout. Views, layouts, application, which is going to include some other tags. But I bet those are already included here. All right. Oh, they're not. Oh, well, that's not in the generated, sorry. Let's... Yeah, that includes all of our tags for inertia and application and da-da-da-da. Okay, so that's fine. Why aren't you loading? Like, libutil should be fine. CSS is all fine. Our button is fine. Right? Our page is good. All these files are exactly the same. There's no difference here. Let's see how we're importing the components over here, though. Let's go welcome. Interesting. All right, so we're not using the resolved path, and somehow that's working. But we should be able to, right? That's the whole... Isn't that the whole point of having that? Actually, we're not even using it here. And it's still not... I think we're confusing ourselves now. Now we're in here. Interesting. All right, so it works if we just access the relative path, but the resolving path doesn't work. So I'll have to figure out how to get the resolver to work. Yeah, I think there's a couple things we're going to want to do here around the resolver, and just like adding the correct path. Trying to think what we'd want to do for this. We should be able to use the resolver, right? Like that's kind of the whole point of it, so that when you go and install a component, you can just use this. Okay, so if I use this, it will
Okay, so let's see. This is Vite demo. It's Vite demo where it works. So hold on, let's cancel this, cancel that. Let's come back here, restart this, restart our Rails server here. Okay, so that works there. Now this should be our demo. We're importing button, and then we're not using it yet. So I'm gonna change this to button, and then we break because of the @utils. Yeah, add components UI button. Like this is, we should be able to use this. That's what we want, right? If we use that here, then it doesn't work. But there's something about these configs that have to be different than what we're generating here. So let's just open this up and let's take TS node Vite components. I'm going to stick these over in ChatGPT. See if it can tell us what is off with our configs. Okay, so it's saying our Vite config is wrong, which it is. Oh, does this just need to be app JavaScript? I think this just needs to be app JavaScript. Okay. Let's change that back in our starter kit. So our Vite config, this is just app JavaScript, just the root. All right, and then our resolving should work. So if we're here in the starter kit demo, yeah, now we can use @components UI button. Got it, okay. So there's our button. Why are we not getting our styles though? Our application CSS is there. Which means something isn't being loaded here. All right, so we have a Vite JavaScript tag, Inertia SSR, Vite TypeScript tag, Vite client tag, Vite React refresh, Vite style sheet tag application, style link tag application, include tag, tag. Those should all be fine. Let's look here. App, assets, style sheets, application at Tailwind. Oh look, we're getting it in there as well. So we wouldn't use it there, so I don't know. It's probably fine to leave. I think it's always this Vite config. Or not the Vite config, the components JSON. It needs to be application CSS, I think. Let's go ahead and restart Vite. We're not getting any styles. Like we are getting Tailwind, but we're not getting our other classes, right? Maybe we're getting Tailwind. Let's see. Yeah, so Tailwind's definitely loaded. Okay, so what is different here? Because here it does work. Entry points, application. I'm pretty sure it's pulling from here. Let's go back to our demo. Entry points, application. Nothing there. Oh, it just like randomly crashed. That's cool. Yeah, we're gonna call this pretty soon. See if we can't figure it out offline. I mean, if we reference the other CSS, does it work? No. App assets, style sheets, application.tailwind. It's the exact same CSS, package.json. We are using Tailwind 4 everywhere. So what happens if we build? Oh, I think this is the one that was still giving us JavaScript errors, right? App assets, application, Tailwind. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's because we're not installing like the RubyGems. which we might need to add for our Tailwind. Okay, no longer complaining about that. But then the question is it loading our CSS at all? I think the answer is no. Oh, it's showing too. At least the theme layer. Okay. I feel like that's just like base. Okay. But I'm not seeing, let's switch over. Switch over to our demo. And go ahead and run this again. And see, why are we getting our styles there? And where are we loading them from? We're loading them straight from application CSS. And that's got everything in it, all of our shadcn styles. Okay. That's what we want. It's loading our Tailwind. Which again is loading the same thing. We are getting an error here. Okay, so let's try something. App JavaScript. Entry points application. Okay. Looks great. App assets, style sheet, application, Tailwind. Just copy that, comment that out, reload. Now we're not getting that anymore. I feel like if we left this, it's the glob, right, that's including it in our layout. It's this, which is including it. And so we don't necessarily want that. We want to include an application. So what if we rename this application CSS, reload. We're still loading there. And if I comment these out, our styles go away. Right, because the styles are coming from here. If we open up our another Vite config, our components JSON. Oh, interesting. So it's just the Tailwind config. which I don't think does anything, but bringing those back immediately, we get the styles.
And I don't think we're referencing that anywhere either, right? But it's just, it works.
So what are we doing differently? Let's go ahead and shut this one down. We'll go ahead and run this one again. Come on. I'm still running. Alright, start that one up. Okay, so now we don't have any styles. And real starter kit demo. So where's it getting Tailwind from? Is it just the plugin? In which case, none of this is actually doing anything. We're missing something. And unfortunately, I'm too tired to figure out what we're missing right now. We're so close, right? We just need this to be able to be styled. Our resolver's there. I'm trying to figure out where, like, why does Inertia, why does it put the, I'm wondering why it puts the, CSS file there. So that already gets set up. All right, let's just look at these side by side. Okay, let's start with components JSON. Side by side, I'm gonna go and flip this off so we just see
all of this.
Again, the only difference is this, and that's what this was. So we'll put that back for now. Schema, good. Okay. Let's go to tsconfig app.json, tsconfig app.json. Is that why? Looks like we don't even need the... Is that why? Is there something there? Interesting. So we probably... I don't know if we actually need that, but we'll see. Okay, so compiler options look good. What else? tsconfig.json. tsconfig.json. Those all look good as well. All right, Vite config. Interesting. How does this one... I mean, that's the resolver. We are resolving. I don't see any difference here. Except for our path name. Should be fine. App, JavaScript, libtils. That should also be exactly the same. It's gotta be one of the install steps then, because our configs look correct. Components are going in the right directory. Assets are right there. I don't really want our CSS to be in the entry point. It does appear that that's the one that it's using. I don't see any difference. So it had to be one of the installers that we ran. So let's do this. Let's switch back over here. Let's shut this down. We're gonna try one more thing before we call it. Okay. This is our Vite demo. We're gonna create a new Rails project. So say Rails new. Inertia demo app. dash J ES build dash C Tailwind dash capital T to skip test dash dash skip solid. We're gonna run that. And we're just gonna verify these steps, these manual steps, one more time, because there's something off here. That shouldn't be. Okay, so that's our base project. So let's go into our app. We are going to open up our gem file, and we're just going to say gem inertia rails bundle install. And then we're going to run rails g inertia :install to run the installer for inertia. Yes, we want Vite Ruby. Yes, we want TypeScript. We already have Tailwind, and we want React. It's going to ask if we'd like to install Tailwind. And that, okay. So what does it run? Add Tailwind CSS, Vite. It adds to the config. And that's where it adds entry points application CSS. So we want to replace bin dev. Yes. Okay. Okay, so we run an inertia example. We're working out of the box. Okay, so that just works. Now, close some of these other tabs real quick. Okay, so now if we were going to add shadcn manual installation, we need to do this and then create all of these things, right? So let's just test this out. So we're going to install it. How does that work? I don't think that's enough, right? We ran that installer. tsconfig JSON. We already have our, oops, we want to be in here. tsconfig JSON. We're going to add our compiler options. Here. Really? After. Always after. Okay. So really what we want, we'll leave it, but entry points, application CSS, we're going to take the global styles here, copy them in. We're going to add our helper. So app JavaScript lib utils.ts. and that's going to add it. We need our components JSON. I think it's the manual step that's messing us up. All right, it says we're all installed now. That is the manual way to do it, and then we can go down here and say add button. Okay. Go to our Inertia example. We're going to import button from components UI button. We're going to take all of this and get rid of it. We're going to change this button to a button component. 1, 2, that should be fine. Then we're going to come down here and do Rails server Vite dev. And you notice, same thing, doesn't work. Okay, which means there's some part of the installer. So check this out. If we go to docs, Laravel, and well, you can just do this because Laravel's awesome and it works out of the box. Where is this? We need to do maybe it's this that we're missing. Tailwind 4. And then it tells us to do this. Still doesn't work. Oh, is it the init? It's the init. It's the init, right? No. Come on. Okay, all of our aliases are fine. This is the only thing that's not. Okay, I think we're going to call it there. I'll figure out what this is and we'll follow up in the next stream. Yeah, hopefully you got something out of this.
again, we're trying to build out this engine. I'm not sure what we're hitting here. There's got to be something in the config. It's probably something super obvious. We'll circle back in the next one and go through kind of what we did. And we'll continue iterating on this engine to get the other things set up and installed so that we can have a true starter kit that makes it much, much easier to create our applications moving forward. Until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks.